I've always been like that. I told the Therion guys when they hired me as a singer. Mm-hmm. And on the side of that, they also wanted me to design the stage props and make a better presentation for the band in general, also with stage clothes and photos and all that. To me, it's like that band, they do in some sort of symphonic, operatic, pompous metal and stuff. And to be on stage in a worn out Creator t-shirt and some jogging pants, that doesn't really match, I think. If you go to the opera, you want to be presented for all your senses, what you hear, what you see, what you smell, all that. So I wanted to do it like take it a couple of notches up there or a step further, I suppose, And I think we accomplished to do that because when we did that Gothic Kabbalah and started to tour on that throughout the whole year of 2007, it has never really looked or sounded better. It was the perfect band, I think,
100% agreed. I think that album, the concept, the theme, obviously there's a theme that it follows through. Obviously, with the writing of Carlson, you guys had a lyric writer for this. Snowy, I bought the books. I bought this man's books because I was so intrigued by the topics that you guys presented, and I think it further hit on me because of the theatrics, of the stage presence, of the Katarina's and Laurie Lewis's acting. Wow, the lightnings right here. I wanted to get that tattoo for a long time, and I still want to be honest with you. I probably will after this. Interview. I swear. It brought in a very much heavier, I think maybe elements that the band needed, in my opinion, and it really changed the band. It became a lot more structured songs. You participated in the writing of Tuna 1613, correct, musically?
Yeah. Oh, Wanda Barbaris, I was like involved in a little bit, but for that album, I was mostly, hired as a singer and did the best.
Yeah, and man, had you ever done other singing performances outside of Therion? Because that's when you really came out and really stole the stage, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not that much, really. I mean, I had been doing Notre Dame, which is my own brainchild, so to speak. And then I was, because I couldn't find any singer. I mean, that's been one of the biggest sort of sorrows in life. I always looked for that perfect singer, and I was kind of naive early on and thought I would find like Eric Adams combined with Rob Halford in the suburbs here in Gothenburg, but it doesn't quite work like that.
Right.
So eventually I came to the point that fuck it, I have to do it myself, and and I just tried to do the best I could, really. And so I did that with Notre Dame, or Dame, if it's going to be French pronunciation. Anyway, so then I did, a bunch of shows and all that. And then I was playing bass and singing or playing guitar and singing. But with Therion, it was a whole different ball game because, I mean, then we were out on tour for a fucking year, and that was like such a, big thing happening for me, especially coming to South Latin America, where Therion were huge. It was almost like Beatlemania or something like that, and that was really, really cool. And I took to it like a fish, I should say. I loved to be sort of in the center. I mean, there's a kind of thing with drummers stepping forward, like Dave Grohl or Nick Anderson from Entombed, also in Helicopters, and a lot of Bon Scott was originally a drummer. Iggy Pop too. I mean, I guess we get tired of being in the background, I suppose.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know what
it's.
Love that
so tell me. Yeah. So how did you join Therion? You explained to us it was as you took on the role of a designer, the role of a singer. There was I could tell there was a lot more Snowy Shaw influence in the fold because obviously from Sirius B and Lemuria there was a huge change in stage presence and design and all that. So talk to us about how did they bring you into that fold? Was it Christopher that brought you in, and then furthermore, how was it to work with like the Neiman Brothers and Peter Carlson and all the great band?
Yeah, it was a really, really good lineup. I mean, the most professional musicians, and everybody's so highly skilled and qualified and professional and all that. It was actually Petter Karlsson, because he used to play with a guitar player that I had in one of my old bands and stuff. And he was, another whiz kid. I mean, like a young, talented guy and all that, to sing really well. And he's good musically overall, not just as a drummer. But so he has always kind of looked up to me, I suppose, because I'm a little bit older or whatever. And he saw what I was doing also in terms of presentation and the whole concept, not just the music, but in lyrics, in stage props, in image, and in photos or whatever it is. So he thought it would be a perfect thing to bring me into the fold, to take Therion to the next step. And he also suggested that, okay, so he can also design all these props and be in charge of the presentation, which is was certainly needed, I suppose. So
certainly,
so it was a big improvement, I think. So so he got in touch with me. He sent me that song Tuna, whatever it's called. But anyway,
1613.
I just recorded that in my own home studio and sent it back, and then I got the job, and I went up to Stockholm to record my vocals for the album, and that's how it happened, really. Yeah.
It was like listening to a demon who had just crawled out of hell. Like listening to those whales was just fantastic. It was very different, Snowy. It was very different because coming from that Therion who was very, orchestra, opera, to this, and especially with a song like Tuna, I think it was probably the one that really just caught me, because it was like a punch in the face. You know what I mean? It was very, very, very catchy. I have to ask you about this. Normally, I like to really go in depth about the bands that we all love. And obviously, we have a big South American following. And I have to ask you, the lineup changes of Therion. I think that from Sirius B and Lemuria up to maybe Gothic Kabbalah was the best lineup in value and obviously song-wise, etc. People might differ. People might think otherwise, of course. But how do you feel about the constant lineup changes of Therion? How do you feel about that?
I think if you'd ask Christopher about that, he would say probably that a lot of revolving doors, because people come and go, and it's an organism still growing, which is something that I highly respect. And instead of being stuck in something, okay, once we find a gold mine, we're going to stick to that and just keep dishing out albums and cashing in on that, and this keep evolving all the time, which is, I think it's very healthy and good. But like you say, I mean, people have different opinions. They might favorize, whatever you say, that particular area or era. I mean,
era.
Yeah. But but I think, in my opinion, I think it was at its best for the Gothic Kabbalah. Even when Mats left the band, or was asked to leave the band, I don't know. But anyway, and it was replaced by Thomas Wikström, and it was still like the best lineup, where we had good camaraderie and everything worked really well, and I think that was good. But I guess I'm kind of a restless spirit or something like that, because I mean, over the years I kind of the interest started to wear off for me, and Citra Ara, I wrote some couple of songs on that one, but I wasn't so pleased with that, and then there was the French album, and I certainly didn't like that. So,
exactly.
Yeah, for me, I just figured that I had to fucking move on, because to me, I mean, I got to say that I've been with so many bands, and I quit them all, because the first year seemed to be, wow, then I'm really excited about it. This is all new and inspirational and all that. But after a while, it gets sort of in a rut or the routine, and it becomes kind of boring. So I got to tell you this kind of a story. We were out on tour, and I was in Thessaloniki, Greece, and I think I was on stage, and I was standing there singing and looking at the stage floor, and I wonder what that is. Is that lacquered birch, or is it maple maybe, or something like that. I was like, and then it just crossed my mind that what the fuck is this? Do I have a secret desire to be a carpenter or yeah, because but I just decided that I need to move on in life and get something else to do, because this is more or less like a job now, and you know.
I understand what you're saying. I think the interest started to wear off. Let me ask you something. I know that and the news in the metal world sometimes can be so vague. You know, obviously we have sources like Blabbermouth. You were featured there recently. I saw that. But back in a few years back, when all of this was kind of happening after Gothic Kabbalah, I believe after Sitra, he had like some type of neck injury, correct? He had some type of surgery. Christopher, I noticed a decline. And I don't want to say the quality of Therion, but I noticed a decline after that. Do you think it's due to that? Was he going through some health problems, Christopher, that perhaps Therion was falling into a second plane, or you wouldn't assume as much? What do you think, Snowy?
Nah, as far as I can see, it has nothing to do with this injury, really, because he fixed and stuff, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scene, of course, and how you run a band. I mean, Christopher is a good entrepreneur. I mean, to be in charge of the band, but I mean, it's ingredients. Let's say the musicians and the one contributing, writing and stuff is really, really important, and it keeps changing all the time. I mean, I just saw some. I played drums on the new album, like 22 songs or whatever. I mean, so anyway. But I mean, I'm not involved in the band anymore. This was like this thing. So it keeps changing, and he follows his heart and his own inner feeling or instinct or whatever, and that's fine. I mean, so I don't know really. I mean, I think Gothic Kabbalah was like, but I mean, my favorite album. I mean, we were performing so many songs from that era. What is it called? Secret of the Runes.
Secret of the Runes, of course, yeah.
Probably my favorite album. I mean, but things keep changing, but I don't think it has anything to do with this injury.
So, man, what a nice Therion conversation. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think music is kind of stale. I mean, even performances these days. I mean, you have backing tracks, you have choreography. I'm not talking about a specific band, but most bands. And it's like going to a musical or a fucking movie even or something like that, because people are just going through the motions, repeating what they did the last night. So it's got to be a sense of drama or spontaneity or something. I mean, so that is why I just want to wing it and do whatever comes to my mind or something like that. A little bit like that. It's got to be a little bit crazy. Otherwise, I mean, it gets too fucking boring, you know.
Right. You start looking at the wood and looking at what the floor is made out of and all that shit.